Hello and welcome to another episode of Live Coding with Vitosh Academy. Today I will talk about cells and ranges in VBA. So just if you open the documentation of Microsoft, you would easily see something called range object, and if you scroll here on the first 2 points, you will see interesting things like range and cell properties of the worksheet object and range and cell properties of the range object. So this means that range and cells are both properties of the worksheet object and the range object. Okay, so it's really interesting. Let's start and examine slowly what's going on out there. Let's pretty much decide to write some code and see what exactly the range object would do. Okay, debug print, then range C1 range cells 11 comma cells 2.2 comma address. Okay. Here it would be really interesting to see, do you have a clue what the result would be here in the immediate window, or direct Bereich as it is in German. Let's try this one. It says C1 D2, although we somehow have managed here about cells 11, cells 22. Okay, here I want to say something. I know that professional VBA developers already would probably leave my video because I have left the range and the cells without specifying the parent worksheet. Don't worry, I would specify it later. I mean, this is just explanatory, so stay here, professional VBA developers, all the 10 of you out there. So let's continue with debug print range C1 dot range B2 dot address. And do you have an idea what would happen if this one is run, the second one? So it's obviously some range C1, the C1 of the B2 of the C1. What would be the B2 of the C1? It's D2. So pretty much that's what this lecture would be about. And let's start. Just before starting, I want to show something which is one of the top errors in all VBA world. Pretty much, as I said here, not specifying the parent worksheet, and in some cases the parent workbook. So let's see what would happen in this case if we don't specify the workbook. We can say, hey, what's the parent name? And it would say the parent name is Tabelle 1. Tabelle 1 in our case currently is the only possible one. So it has selected the active one. Yes. Yeah. So what would happen if we have this one as an active one, running it, and we would have Tabelle 2. This one is an active one, Tabelle 3. That's a bit interesting. You can say, okay, I would have as a rule of thumb that it would always give me the active one. And here someone should tell you, yeah, never work with active ones, but this is not always the case. Let's see what would happen if we put this code in, not in a module, but in Tabelle 2, and we have Tabelle 3 as the active one. Simply, we would have Tabelle 2. So what is the best thing to do? It is the following. Simply write this workbook, worksheets, here write the index of the worksheet like this, or the name of the worksheet like this, or consider calling the worksheet like this, Tabelle 1. And here width, and here end width. Of course, if this happens, This is not allowed because it should be tabella1.name, and here we should write worksheets. Yeah, this one would take a look at this name here. With F4 we can open it, the properties, and we'll see the name here, the name of the property. So even if we change this one to something new, tabella2 name would be the same. So let's see, something new. Here we should simply say, hey, we needed a dot. So even if something new is not the selected one, and our code was not in something new but in this one, it would still know that the parent is something new, this one. You see, the dot is a really important part. Furthermore, here on this one, this is the other really famous mistake I have seen in my life. So pretty much we simply put a dot here, we forget about these ones, and now we should get one of the terrific 1004 runtime error, or as you see it in German, Laufzeitfehler 1004. Okay, how do we fix this one? We also put the dots in front of the cells like this, and it should be working. Okay, so far so good for the must-see things about working with worksheets and workbooks. And let's start one by one with the 4 parts that we have seen in the Microsoft website. Pretty much the Worksheets.Range Property, the Worksheets.Cells Property, the Range.Range Property, and the Range.Cells Property. Okay, so Worksheet.Range Property is what I call the classic range in Excel. I mean, using only this one, you probably never need to go for the other 3. And with this one, you would be happy to go over all the stuff you are doing into VBA. Okay, I'll go back to module 1. And here, test me. I would say I would name it loop from A1 to E5. That's a good name. And we start with worksheets. Let's call it tabella2.name. Tabella2 name would always be something new. We can mention this workbook. Okay, as far as you're working with one workbook, it knows which is it is, but it's okay to be a bit more precise. And here we would say the following. I'm going to say my range is range and my cell is range. And we set my range equaling dot range. We're currently talking about worksheets.range property. So dot range dot cells, and we say one of the cells, comma, dot cells 55. How do I know that cells 11 and 55 are the one I'm looking for? Well, there are 2 ways. I know that these are these ones, E5 and cells like this. There are other ways to refer to those. I would talk about them later. But a way to check it is the following: debug print my range address. Or if you are really want to, I don't know, make someone nervous, you can say my range.select. And if this person is like a professional VBA developer, the moment he or she uses you, sees you, that you are working with select, they would start screaming a bit. As you see in this case, it is not happy. Why is it not happy? Because my range is actually in a parent worksheet. So in order to activate my, in order to select it, we should have been there. So you see, like now it works. And now it is an error. What can we do if we really want to select it? We can say my range parent select. It would select something new. And then it would go to the range. As I already mentioned, using select is really a bad practice in general with VBA. Don't do it. So loop from A1 to E5. Next, for each my cell in my range. Next, what do we do? Debug print my cell dot address and my cell dot value, or without value, but I would use value here, equals equals number. Okay, my number, and we will increment my number with 1. Here we should declare, of course, my number as, let's do it double. The first one, it will be 0. Let's run it, and this is it. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and up to 24, like this. If we want to say that my number should be starting with 1, simply write it like this. F5 starting with 1. Okay, this column here, it's just a nice way to declare and assign on the same line. It's a matter of taste. You can do it like this. It's pretty much the same. Yeah. And that's the idea of the worksheet range. Okay, now the Worksheet.Cells Property. So let's go here and delete everything we had. Okay, sorry for using German Excel, but this is the one I'm having. So here I can say that Worksheet.Cells in general declares the cells of the worksheet using the coordinating system from this one, A1. So there are about 5 different ways to obtain the cells property of a worksheet, or so much I have found. Probably there could be others. You can mention in the comments if you feel like writing comments. I mean, I usually read them and I kind of like it. Okay, let's start with worksheets. Tabelle 2 name, and with, I'm not using this workbook because I usually write this only if my code refers to 2 workbooks, and unfortunately this is a bit rare. So let's see, what do we do here? We can say dim my cell as range, and we can start setting the cell. So my cell equals dot. The dot stays for this thing here. So if we don't write dot, you can write this one here, dot cells, and we say 5.5. So 5.5 should be this one, E5. And let's debug print my cell address. You may ask, why do we put this here and what do we get from deleting it? It's great if we delete it because it's less code, better for the eyes, and we work faster and we understand more stuff. And yeah, we can, if we change it here, it is changed. So we can just say, okay, let's say it's tabelle 3. Yeah, it's like this. So let's go back to tabelle 2. So this is the first thing, my cell would be E5 for this one. So another way to say set my cell, we can say, hey, we only say cells and then 5. So would it work? It would work. What would it be? The print my cell address. Let's see. Well, it would be E1. So in this case, we only said 5. And it realized that it should go to the right, and it gave us E1, which is rather strange because if you know what this stands for, the first one should actually be row and the other one is column. So skipping them, you would think that it would go to the column, to the 5th column, but the answer would be no. Let's see whether we have some documentations here. Cells. I just pressed F2 and cells, okay, Excel library, and here I would be into cells, or Excel range. Range is an element of Excel. Okay, then we should go to worksheet. Okay, cells, here we go. And we don't see what I was thinking of. Something like, I was looking for parameters saying like this: rows, columns. It actually works. Nah, not exactly. I mean, you should know this by heart. Yeah, so this is a bit tricky, remembering that in this case it's always first the row, but if it is only one, it's the column which is the first one. Okay, here I'm saying not 5 but 15, so it is illustratable. 05 E1. Okay, the next one, the next way I was thinking of providing info about my cell was like this: cells, and here I can say (5), and I would say debug print my cell address, and it should be actually the same. Yes, it is the same. Why is it the same? Because if we have the first one, it's on the second place, and in this game we have 2. In this case we have 2, and it's already the second one. Is it strange? No, I can say it is a bit strange, yes, but yeah, depends. Let's just continue with the next one that I know, and this is my favorite actually, mycell.cells. If you are not aware of all these rows, for example, which is a 26 row, how do you name, let's say, AB? What is the number of AB? You can say, hey, I want to select the 15th from the AB, and you just write it like this. And then you go debug print mycell.address, and it would say, hey, the 50th AB is actually AB50. Makes sense, but it's actually great if you are using it. And the last one I was thinking to show was this one: cells.address. Any idea what this would do? Well, obviously a mistake. Let's see where the debug is. Debug, of course. I mean, I haven't printed anything, so I just wrote debug print, and let's try again. Cells address, yes, this is it. 1 to 1 million something. This is how it looks like, and we can use it here just to verify it once again. This is how it works. Great. So continuing with the range property, which is pretty much what we were using at the very beginning of our lecture. It was our copied. It was looking like this, and I would not make someone nervous, I would write the dot here. So what is the idea of this range property? That's a good one. Well, the idea is that C1 B2 address. So imagine that C1 is the place where we start, and the B2 of C1 is actually this one, D2. I mean, imagine that C1 was A and B don't exist, so we only have to go where B2 would be if A1 was C1. So the answer would be D2. And this is the answer. I'm not sure that someone would be happy if they see this type of low quality code in production, because you should be, I don't know, kind of a mathematic prodigy just to understand immediately that this is D2. And okay, for this kind of small numbers you can get it, but if you have it constantly in your code, I can only say avoid it at all costs. Yes, that's the point. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is the Range.Cells property. So what is about the Range.Cells property that's really interesting? What you need to know here is that the Range.Cells property is the thing that gives you the relative position by rows and columns of the top left cell of the range. And because the Range.Item property is the default one of the range object, the word cells could be actually omitted. What does it mean? Let's take a quick look. Who needs cells at all? Should we call it this way? It's a good way to call it, I would say. And here we say dim my range as range. Set my range worksheets 1, and now range. Okay, let's say we need this range, so it is C7 E15. We simply write it like this: C7 E15. Actually, a good way to write ranges is like this. Yeah, this is probably the most standard way in VBA, and I'm writing it, talking about it at the end. So now the bug print my range address. Let's see what the answer would be. Yeah, C7 and 15. Nothing unexpected. And now, if I say dim my cell as range and set it to my cell to my range, and here, okay, row column index, that was what I was thinking of the last time. Okay, obviously Control E is actually what is doing the magic here, this shortcut. It's really important, don't forget it, Control plus E. I'll try to write in the video later. So set my range, my cell is my range 2.2, and I will be asking for the address. Let's see the bug print my cell address. It shouldn't be actually 2.2, should not be B2, but it should be actually D8, the one here. Let's see. Yes, this is it. So pretty much that's all. Thank you for staying with me up to the end of the video. Enjoy your day. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. Most probably I will try to answer them. And yeah, once again, thank you for staying up to here. Thank you for your positivity. Enjoy your day. That's all, folks. Ciao, ciao.